Hey there, Dog World and you fam! Back at it again with another pawsome episode.
Today's video is all about cracking the code on why our furry pals sometimes turn into little wiggle monsters at grooming time. Plus, we've got some tricks up our sleeves on how to turn those frowns upside down and make grooming a tail-wagging good time. And guess who's stealing the spotlight today? Our star pup, Cookie.
Yep, Cookie's got some grooming jitters, but fear not. We've got the scoop on how to help our furry friends embrace their spa days. And who better to guide us through than the one and only Greta Groomington, the grooming star of Dog World and you? She's tackled more hairy situations than a pack of shedding huskies.
Well, hello there, lovely folks. What's the scoop today?
Greta, we want you to give our viewers the lowdown on Cookie. His journey from a bitey beast and a groomer's nightmare to a positively well-behaved boy is quite the tale to tell.
Oh, Cookie, poor thing. His name doesn't quite match his temperament when it comes to grooming time, does it? His owner reached out to us at Dog World and you with a huge request for help with Cookie's grooming fears. It got to the point where the only option seemed to be sedating him at the vet's office due to his aggressive behavior and lack of tolerance for unpleasant procedures and grooming.
I know that some breeds must have groomed due to their coat. What breed is Cookie?
He's just a 2-year-old Shih Tzu, a mix of Shih Tzu and Poodle, which should have made him a delightful little companion, blending the best of both breeds. But unfortunately, things didn't quite go as planned. Cookie wouldn't tolerate being touched by anyone, sometimes even own family members, and he had no problem giving a little nip to anyone who got too close to his comfort zone. It was like he had a playbook on how to avoid anything he didn't like, with his feisty attitude and biting. And let me tell you, when Cookie bit, he meant business. He has very serious not to trust stranger issues.
Wow, Cookie sure has quite the story. What do you think might be causing him to act this way? Because small breeds usually love SPA days.
You know, Max, it's not uncommon to find dogs who absolutely adore being pampered, welcoming baths, brushing, and ear cleanings with open paws. But let's remember, that's a special treat, not the norm. It's all about trust. Trust is key for both humans and animals. We've got to earn it, plain and simple. And sometimes building trust with a dog who's never been exposed to grooming or had a negative experience might take a lot of time. That's why I always suggest starting pups off early with those less than fun grooming routines from puppyhood.
What age would you recommend starting to introduce pups to grooming routines?
A responsible breeder will begin introducing grooming tools and getting puppies accustomed to those not-so-fun procedures as soon as possible, usually around 3 to 4 weeks old. By doing this, breeders can help puppies build positive associations with grooming, setting them up for a lifetime of stress-free pampering. If a puppy wasn't exposed to those procedures under breeder care, the new owner needs to start as soon as they bring the puppy home.
That sounds perfect. But what if people adopted a dog from a shelter or have a dog who already had negative experiences connected to grooming?
If owners adopted a dog or have a pup like Cookie with past negative experiences, those pups might get scared when they feel restrained or see strange objects like grooming tools. And let's not forget, even a little nick during nail trims can really spook them.
So, our main goal with dogs like Cookie is all about teaching them to trust us and showing them we're here to help, not harm.
You're right, Max.
Greta, what kind of training methods did you use to help Cookie and other dogs dealing with grooming issues?
Well, Max, I've got a few tricks up my sleeve when it comes to training dogs for those less enjoyable grooming procedures. Those tricks are desensitization, counterconditioning, and operant training, especially helpful in tough cases of fear-based aggression, not just towards grooming, but also towards human touch. I can tell that Cookie's trust has already taken a hit, and in severe cases like his, it's crucial to rely on a dog behavior specialist who really knows their stuff. Otherwise, applying the wrong methods could make things much worse.
What are the initial steps involved in implementing these training methods, especially in grooming procedures.
We always start with some prep work. Load up on treats, and if the dog is muzzle trained, it's a good idea to use that. If not, muzzle training might be necessary. Then, it's all about rewarding good behavior and taking it step by step.
Let's start with desensitization first. How do you determine the starting point for desensitizing a dog to a specific grooming procedure?
Desensitization involves gradually exposing the dog to the stimulus that triggers its fear or discomfort, starting with a level the dog can handle. For example, let's say we're working on ear cleaning. Some dogs might tense up when you get too close, while others might only react when you touch their ears. The key is to identify the level at which the dog starts to tense up and work from there.
What strategy can I employ once I've identified the level that triggers the dog's tension during desensitization?
Once you've found the level that triggers the dog's tension, you want to alternate that stimulus with an even weaker one. For instance, if the dog tenses up when you touch its ears, but remains relaxed when you stroke its head, you'll want to stroke the dog's head most of the time and occasionally touch its ears lightly. This process helps the dog gradually get used to the stimulus without becoming overwhelmed.
That makes sense. How should treats be utilized during the desensitization process?
During desensitization itself, treats aren't given. Instead, it's crucial to consistently praise the dog, not only during challenging moments. The goal is to help the dog associate the stimulus with positive experiences and gradually build its confidence over time.
Brushing and nail trimming were real challenges for Cookie. How did you begin the brushing process with Cookie, especially considering his sensitivity?
Brushing can be challenging for sensitive pups like Cookie. We began by gently stroking him all over his body to observe his reaction and identify areas where he might become tense. In his case, it was his back legs, tail, and face. I'll share more details about how we exposed Cookie to brushing as I discuss other methods, as desensitization alone wasn't enough to address his issues.
Greta, how did you approach desensitization for nail trimming with Cookie? And what steps did you take to gradually introduce him to the tools involved in the process?
Desensitization for nail trimming follows a similar process. With Cookie, we began by gently holding his paw in hand without applying any pressure. If he stayed calm, we tried lifting the paw slightly. If Cookie tensed up, we simply relaxed our grip and let go. Additionally, we gradually introduced Cookie to the tools, such as nail clippers, nail grinders, cotton swabs, and a nail file for him to sniff and inspect. Then, we started by touching Cookie with our hands while the objects were nearby. We slowly progressed, touching Cookie with both hands and the objects until he accepted all these manipulations without any tension.
How do you know when you've successfully desensitized a dog to nail trimming or other unpleasant procedures?
Max, when you take things slow and steady, you eventually reach a point where the dog accepts all these manipulations without a single moment of tension. Though it may seem long and tedious to some trainers and owners, the result is worth it.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It's almost too good to be true.
Well, there's a catch, Max. Even if the dog gets used to the grooming process in a calm state, it might regress if something triggers the dog's mistrust. But not to worry! That's where counterconditioning steps in, helping to tackle those triggers and create a positive association.
Greta, how does counterconditioning work? And can you provide an example of how it was applied to change a dog's association with a particular stimulus?
We're basically rewiring the dog's brain to change its associations with a particular stimulus. Let me give you an example. Imagine a dog who used to fear sticks because it associated them with pain. Now, through counterconditioning, when the dog sees a stick, it means playtime. How did this happen? Well, we started by introducing less intimidating stimuli, like thinner sticks or even balls, during playtime with the dog. Then, gradually, we worked our way up to heavier sticks while continuing to reinforce positive associations. It's all about changing the dog's perspective.
How do you implement counterconditioning when working on touching a sensitive area of a dog's body, and what do you do if the dog reacts negatively to the stimulus?
Let's say we're working on touching a sensitive area of the dog's body, like the dog's ear. We'd start by stroking the dog's head 9 times, for example, and then on the 10th stroke, we'd gently touch the dog's ear and say, "Excellent," while giving the dog a treat. We repeat this process, reinforcing positive associations with each interaction. If the stimulus is too strong and the dog growls or tries to bite, it means we misjudged the dog's tolerance level. In that case, we take a step back, choose a weaker stimulus, and try again in the next session.
Greta, what are the potential outcomes and drawbacks of using the counterconditioning method in grooming?
Well, Max, the positive outcome of this method is that it can lead to a change in the dog's motivation and the development of positive associations with touch. However, there's a potential downside. The dog might start focusing on the fact that you're touching its ear, for example, which could make the dog more tense, especially if the pup has past experiences of forceful restraint or painful treatment. If this happens, you'll need to take a step back in the training process and gradually work your way forward again.
How does combining desensitization with counterconditioning affect the speed of results?
Yes, Max. Combining desensitization with counterconditioning often yields faster results and reduces the likelihood of regression later, compared to using desensitization alone. But in severe cases, where dogs may react explosively without showing warning signs like tension or growling, it's crucial to seek guidance from a specialist who can provide support at each stage of the process.
Finally, the third method. Usually the last one is often the most effective.
Absolutely, Max. The third method can indeed yield the best results, especially when applied by an experienced trainer. This method involves operant conditioning with positive reinforcement. One significant advantage is that you can't force the dog's training, which helps prevent regression or aggression later. The dog learns to touch hands and objects on their own, overcoming fear and making independent decisions.
I'm eager to learn how I can apply this method to grooming tasks like ear cleaning, for example.
Okay, Max, let's start ear cleaning training. First, extend your right palm and hold a treat with your left hand to lure the dog's head under your palm. When the dog touches its head to your palm, praise or click and treat. Repeat until the dog easily puts its head under your palm. Vary the palm's placement. Then, begin stroking the dog with your right hand. If the dog stays, praise and treat. If it moves, lure it back and praise when it touches your palm again. Next, touch the dog's ear. Praise if it stays, then use a cotton swab and repeat. The next step is crucial too. Imagine cleaning the dog's ear. You assume a specific posture, hold certain objects, and take this position to teach the dog to comply on command. Initially, training might go smoothly. If the dog trusts you and isn't afraid, there will be minimal tension. However, if the dog hesitates, give it time. Reward only when the dog overcomes fear and offers its head again. If the dog gets stuck, praise and try something else, then resume training the next day. The moment the dog willingly enters your hands, understanding that you will touch its ear is pivotal. Dogs never forget the choice they made.
Greta, how do you apply the method to brushing and nail trimming? I believe this information will be incredibly helpful for our viewers.
When training the dog to be brushed, you start by teaching the dog to walk past the hand holding the brush while brushing its own sides. After repeating this process many times, the dog will become comfortable allowing you to brush it too. Now, when it comes to teaching the pet to trim nails, you're essentially teaching it to offer you its paw, placing it on your hand with the nail file. Sometimes the dog may get startled and pull back when the hand grips the paw. In such cases, allow it to do so, releasing the paw. But remember to give treats only when the pet overcomes the fear and willingly puts its paw back on your hand. You can adjust the requirements slightly if the dog isn't ready yet, and during this time, refrain from holding the file in your hand or gripping the paw too tightly.
Greta, what extra tips do you think our viewers would find helpful when dealing with unpleasant procedures for their pets?
One important thing to keep in mind is not to let go of the dog if it starts resisting during these procedures. We want to avoid escalating tension. However, in urgent situations where the dog needs immediate treatment, some level of force may be necessary. If you have to, use a muzzle and hold the dog firmly, either by yourself or with someone's help. Stay calm throughout, refraining from shouting or trying to soothe the dog. Just hold the dog quietly until it calms down, then let go. This helps the dog understand that resisting won't get them anywhere, but being calm does. Providing pain relief or addressing any discomfort during the procedure can also help the dog trust that we're here to help. After it's all done, give your dog some quiet time in a comfy spot to relax and recuperate.
Are you saying that confidence in owners' actions during unpleasant procedures can help the dog feel more comfortable?
Confidence is crucial, Max. Owners often hesitate during unpleasant procedures, fearing the dog's reaction or making a mistake. Seeking professional help is important, but if unavailable, take control confidently while being cautious. Fake confidence if needed. If the dog seems scared, consider covering their head with a towel. Avoid appeasing or apologizing beforehand, as it can convey fear and worsen the situation.
What steps can owners take to prevent grooming issues in their pets?
Preventing grooming issues is easier than fixing them later. For example, puppies and street dogs are naturally trusting and open. They don't resist grooming because they haven't had bad experiences, but sudden pain or fear can make them start resisting, creating negative associations. It's like inadvertently creating a negative experience for them. That's why you often hear owners saying, "The first time was fine, but now my dog gets angrier every time." We can learn from these experiences, so it's important to be cautious. Train your pet for these procedures beforehand, introduce them to grooming items through exercises, and reinforce these behaviors repeatedly.
It seems like preparing dogs for grooming procedures in advance helps them feel more comfortable during the actual process, doesn't it?
Certainly. When the time arrives for the actual procedure, the dog already knows what to expect. Even if there's discomfort, such as treating a cut paw, the dog won't be scared because everything else, the routine, your posture, and your praise, will be familiar to it.
Greta, what should we consider about a dog's behavior around familiar and unfamiliar people? And how does this impact interactions with specialists like groomers or vets?
Max, that's a very important question. It's essential to keep in mind that dogs can tell the difference between people they know and those they don't. Once you've earned an adult dog's trust and shown that you're reliable, the dog may start to see you as one of the safe ones. This means the dog will likely be more comfortable letting you handle things like its ears, cuts, or mats without any fuss. In fact, you might not even need to use a muzzle anymore. However, it's crucial not to assume that your dog will react the same way with strangers, such as groomers or vets. Even if your dog is okay with you, the dog might still approach new faces with caution or even show signs of aggression. That's why it's a good idea to always use a muzzle when dealing with specialists until your dog shows the same level of calmness with them as it does with you.
Greta, how should owner approach training a dog for unpleasant procedures while also needing to conduct real procedures like grooming or medical treatment?
It's important to remember that treatment and training are two separate actions. If the dog hasn't yet been accustomed to unpleasant procedures but needs treatment or grooming, it's best to separate the two events. Conduct real procedures when necessary, but reserve separate times for training. Trying to train during actual procedures can be overwhelming for the dog. During training sessions, take it slow and gradually introduce stronger stimuli. When it comes to real procedures, follow the same principles, praising and rewarding the dog for calm behavior. Over time, the dog will begin to understand the logic behind your actions in both situations, making the transition smoother. However, initially, it's crucial to keep the two situations separate, both in terms of timing and your approach.
Thank you so much, Greta, for taking the time to join us in the studio today and sharing such valuable insights with our viewers. I'm sure they'll find this information incredibly helpful and practical.
Absolutely, Max. This knowledge can truly be a lifesaver for many pet owners. However, it's important to remember that in cases of severe aggression due to unpleasant procedures, it's best to seek help from professionals to avoid any harm and prevent further behavior issues with your dog. Here at Dog World and you, we're always ready to offer our support.
And to all our viewers out there, please consider supporting our channel by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell for future videos so you don't miss out. Wishing you all the best of luck and see you next time. Take care.